Hey everyone, it's Casey. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my June wrap up and telling you about all the books I read in June. So in total in June I read 7 books, and then there were 2 books I read like on the last day of May that I'm pretty sure I didn't talk about in my May wrap up. So I'll just start with those. So over Memorial Day weekend I read The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is a romance novel that got so much hype on YouTube, especially I've heard what's her channel name? Chelsea Dowling Reads. This is one of her favorite books of all time. So it's a romance, it's a hate to love romance about 2 coworkers who hate each other, and then they kind of go after the same promotion, and it's a romance novel, so they obviously fall in love. I give this 4 stars, but really it was probably a 3-star book. I liked it, but it certainly wasn't my favorite romance novel. I just thought it was okay. I'm not particular fan of the hate to love trope. Like, I don't hate it, but it's not a trope that I seek out. And I just thought, I don't know, I think maybe I just expected it to be like the most fantastic book I've ever read, and it certainly wasn't that. It did get me into like a big romance reading kind of cycle, I guess you could say. So right after I read that, this was like a novella. It's called The Curveball by J.S. Scott. This was about a plus-size woman who worked at a bakery, and she has a love interest, like a guy who comes in every single day. And it's a romance, so it's how they get together. And again, it was only 60 pages, which I think it's really hard to write a good story, especially a romance, in 60 pages, because what I love most about romances is like the anticipation of them getting together. And so when it's 60 pages, I felt like we didn't get that anticipation. So it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. It was, it was whatever. It was kind of a waste of my time, but anywho. Then the next book I read was honestly one of my favorite books of the year. It is This Adventure Ends by Emma Mills. I've actually done a whole book talk on this that I will leave linked down below. I freaking love this book. It's a YA book about a girl who moves to a new town and kind of the friends that she makes, and there's like a bit of a romance, but it's not overwhelmingly so. I'm not going to say too much about it because I did that whole book talk on it, but I would highly, highly recommend this book. And I'm really excited to pick up more of Emma Mills' books eventually. I'm kind of like a little bit not into reading YA right now, so I'm not like dying to go get my Emma Mills books, but eventually I definitely want to read more of her. So my AC just kicked on, and it's like 96 degrees here in Kentucky. It's like the excessive heat warning. So I'm going to leave it on. So sorry if you can hear it. Then after I read that, so in June I did my sister picks my TBR, and I actually only read 2 of the books that she picked out. So here's the first one. It was Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. This, I'm sure you know, but it's written like in a play form, and it takes place like 20 years after the ending of, what's the last, Deathly Hallows. I thought this was fine. Let me see how many stars I gave it. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was fine. I kind of hate that she wrote this, and I hate that she keeps putting out more Harry Potter material. I wish that kind of just the 7 core books would have been it, and that she wouldn't do all this stuff on Pottermore, that she wouldn't have done this. I just am not a fan of it. My hair is being so weird. Anyway, So yeah, I'm not a fan of all the extra Harry Potters. To me, it taints the franchise and like dilutes my love of Harry Potter. I don't even really like the Fantastic Beasts stuff. Like I've seen the movie, but I fell asleep in the theater and like I've never rewatched it. Obviously, when the next one comes out, I'm gonna go see it because I'm a very loyal, like person of the fandom. But yeah, I'm not into it. So anyway, this book was okay, but it wasn't great. I think it was probably the best that they could have done because I did find the storyline intriguing. They kind of play with time, but I don't know. Like, it was just what it was. But I am glad that I have read that so that I can finally kind of, say I've read it and get it off my TBR. It was one of the books, I don't know, that made me feel the saddest that it was on my TBR and everything. The next book that I read is completely different than Harry Potter, and it is The Tribe by Sebastian Junger. It's on homecoming and belonging. This is like a really short, it's really small, like compared to like Harry Potter. It's one of those short, small books. And this is a nonfiction book. There's 4 chapters to it, and each chapter has to do with the importance of like other people to humans, like the importance of having a community. So it talks a little bit about like the he doesn't say Native Americans, he says American Indians, because that was like a point in like the beginning, in the introduction, that when he interviewed American Indians, they don't, I guess, like the term Native American, because really anyone could be a Native American, right? Like technically I am a Native American because I'm native to America, so they prefer the term American Indian. Anyway, that's like a whole, I don't know why I'm telling you all that, but anyway, one of the chapters is on American Indians. It just talked a lot about their society and how, like, what we in the West can learn from them. A lot about sacrificing for the tribe. It talked about how soldiers, like, one of the things that they miss most when they come home from war is that close bond that they have with the other people. Like, even if they weren't in like the streets of Baghdad, being shot at or anything, like even if they were still in a relatively safe place, that they still miss that close bond that they have when they're deployed together, that when you come back, we just don't have that in America. We don't have, you see it mostly when big disasters happen, like 9/11 or like the hurricanes that happened last summer. You see it then, but day-to-day life, you don't see it. So I would definitely recommend this book. I thought it was really good. It was really insightful. It's a really short book. I checked it out from my library because a short book is $22 at Barnes & Noble, which I find to be slightly ridiculous. Come on. It's 120 pages or something. So anyway, but definitely check it out. This is the second Sebastian Junger that I've read. The other one I've read is The Perfect Storm, which was made into a movie. I talked about him in my nonfiction for beginners. He's one of my favorite nonfiction authors and is like a go-to. It was good, and it also made me feel really bad about American society, especially what it's been in at least the last like 2 years since the last election. But even before then, we were such a divided country. But it's like seems to have really taken to the next level since that last election. So this made me feel real bad, but I'm real glad that I read it. The next book that I listened to is actually an audiobook. It was called Beauty and the Mustache by Penny Reed. So, there's actually a series, and I read the second. Well, this is kind of the first book of the series, kind of a 0.5, because it's actually a part of another series. So let me just tell you everything. So I read this one, Beauty and the Mustache, and then I also read Truth or Beard. So, oh my god. This video, guys, is such a mess. I haven't filmed in like a week because I've been so busy at work, and it's actually July 4th when I'm filming this. And I don't know. Like, I have so much going on in my mind. But anyway, back to the series I was telling you about. So Beauty and the Mustache is about the sister, and then Truth or Beard is the first book of the Winston Brothers series, and it's like 6 brothers, so I assume 6 books, and then the sister. So Beauty and the Mustache takes place in part of Penny Reed's Knitting in the City series. So, and then like from her story, it spun off into the Winston Brothers. It's very confusing, but anyway, Beauty and the Mustache follows a girl. I think her name is Ashley, and she lives in Chicago. Her mom gets sick, so she goes home. And she's originally from some small town in Tennessee, like the Appalachian part of Tennessee. And so she goes home, and her brothers live there, and so it's kind of, she hasn't really talked to her brothers since she left to go to Chicago. So it's a lot about her reconnecting with her brothers, and these are romances. So then there is a love interest whose name is Drew, and he is kind of a guy a friend of the brothers, but who's really stepped up to help the family. So that's their love story. It was okay. I think I gave it a 3. Let me see. I can't remember my ratings for anything. Yeah, I gave it a 3. It wasn't my favorite, mostly because I liked Ashley, like, enough, but I wasn't in love with her. So then after that one, I read Truth or Beard, which is the first part of the Winston Brothers, and it follows Dwayne Winston and Jessica something, Jackson, I think. So Jessica is a teacher who has only moved home for like 2 years, and then she's gonna, just to pay off her student loans, and then she's gonna go travel the world. And Dwayne and her have been childhood friends, but they kind of didn't get along as children. But it turns out Dwayne has like loved her whole life, and so it's about kind of her romance. There is kind of like a weird storyline also with a motorcycle club that kind of got solved a little too seamlessly for my taste. It was weird. I could have done without that whole storyline, but she did it. Penny Reed inserted it, you know, for the drama and everything. But I gave this one a 4 because I did like the characters, and I'm definitely going to continue on with the series. I think that there's 4 out right now, and then the 5th one comes out later in July. So I'm trying to get them through my library, though, so I'm on hold for the second ebooks. They all have beard in the name, so I think one's called Grin and Beard It, one's called Beard Science. I don't know, they all have weird names. But I would recommend this series. I personally like that it takes place in kind of like a small town in Tennessee, because I live in a smallish town in Kentucky, so there is some, I don't know, relation. But they're just cute romances. I love a romance series. They are so good when they take place in like a small town or following brothers or something. I love them. So, I am going to continue on with this series. Then after that one, I listened to the audiobook of The Kiss Quotient, which I feel like I've talked about that book in a lot of videos because I was so hyped to read this book. It is by Helen Wong. I believe that's how you say her last name. And it is about a woman who she's on the autism spectrum, and she wants to gain more sexual experience. So she hires a male sex worker, and basically she pays him to teach her, and then this is a romance, so they fall in love. And I hated this book. I gave it 2 stars, and I hated this book. It was so hyped on BookTube and just like in the world, because I saw like Entertainment Weekly, I feel like, put out like an article about it or something. I thought it was complete garbage. What I look for in a romance is romance. And what this book had was just a lot of sex. And it's interesting because it's something, since I've been reading a lot of romances lately. And so I used to read romances when I was like 20 or something. I would read like the Harlequin ones that you get at the supermarket with like the cowboy on the cover. And then I kind of stopped. I mean, I dibble dabbled. Like I read some Nora Roberts ones. Here and there, and like Debbie Maycumber, but I didn't really read them heavily. And so lately I've been reading them kind of heavily, and I've noticed how different in like the 10 years, like how different the romance genre has changed, because like I'm used to romances, you know, being like slow burn, where like, will they get together or won't they, or like when are they going to, and then like it would allude to sex. Like I'm fine with alluding to sex, or even like if it's like that vague, like, oh, it was like a wave crashing over her or something like stupid like that. Like I'm fine with that. But it seems lately the romances that I've been reading have been like porn. Like it's like outright sex. And that was the problem with the Kiss Quotient. It was so much sex and like so much detail. It talks about like her nipples, and it's like, I don't want that. So like I'm fine with them having sex, but I don't need to listen to the graphic details. If I want that, I will seek it out in like other forms. Like I don't want that in my romance. And to me, there was no romance in this. I didn't care if they got together, like, you know, really got together as a couple. I didn't care. I didn't like the girl, and I didn't like the guy. So like I wasn't rooting for anything. I was like, let's get this over with. And it was just such a disappointment. I would not recommend it unless you want to read an erotic book, and then yes, it's I don't even think it's that good. But anyway, it's not romance if that's what you want. I didn't think it was a romance book. And then I think I have one book. Yeah, my last book. I did kind of get into a reading slump after like all these books. But the last book I read was also on my sister's TBR, and it was To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I actually did end up listening to this on audiobook. I think I said I wasn't going to, but I did. It was cute. I liked it. It kind of was written less sophisticated than I was expecting. I was expecting this to have the depths that I think a Sarah Dessen book or a Morgan Matson book has, but it didn't have those depths. It was kind of just a fluffy YA read. This is about a girl named Laura Jean who writes these letters after she loves, you know, loves these boys, but she never mails these letters, and so eventually they get mailed, and it causes a lot of, you know, drama in her life. There's 2 other books that go with this, and I will read them eventually because I did think they were good enough. I want to continue on the story. This book is actually being made into a Netflix movie that gets released sometime this summer. I think they've just released the trailer. And I definitely will watch the movie when it comes out. But yeah, this was good. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but I didn't hate it. Anyway, I think I finished that book on the 20th, and then I basically did not read anything until this past week. I listened to 2 audiobooks that, again, weren't fantastic. So I'm in a bit of a reading slump. I think that going into July, I'm so busy at work that I don't know if I'll be doing a ton of reading, which is why I want to say that I will not be doing a July TBR. I think what I'm going to do is just post kind of like weekly reads, but probably not every week, probably every other week, just to keep you guys in the know about what I'm reading. But I'm also, since I am in a slump, I just want to read whatever I pick up instead of having these like elaborate TBRs I end up not wanting to read anything of. So I will shoot one of those probably next. And yeah, that was my May TBR. I feel like this was such a terrible video, so if you're still watching, thanks, Mom. Yeah, right. She's probably is watching. Anyway, if you want to subscribe after this mess of a video, please do. And I will see you guys later. Thanks. Bye.